Your muscles are not refusing to grow. Your reps are leaking the signal. That is the part almost nobody wants to hear, because most people think muscle growth is about doing more. More weight, more sets, more failure, more pain. But if the muscle never receives clean tension in the right place, then more work just becomes more noise. You can sweat, you can shake. You can walk out of the gym feeling destroyed and still train the wrong thing, because the body does not grow from effort alone. It grows from a clear demand, a demand strong enough to tell the muscle, you are not prepared for this, build more tissue. And that demand comes from one thing: mechanical tension, not the pump, not soreness, not how loud the set feels in your head. Tension, the kind of tension the muscle cannot escape. And today, BodyForge is going to show you where most lifters lose it. Not because they are lazy, because their form gives the muscle a way out. Watch this. Most guys start a rep strong, then rush through the part that would actually build them. They bounce at the bottom. They swing through the middle. They lock out at the top. And then they call it a full rep. But the muscle only worked hard for a few inches. The rest was joints, momentum, and ego. That is why your numbers can go up while your body looks the same. You are not weak. Your reps are weak. And once you fix that, everything changes. The first leak is speed. A fast rep feels powerful because it lets momentum help. But momentum is not muscle growth. Momentum is the body finding a cheaper way to move weight. When the dumbbell moves too fast, the target muscle stops owning the rep. The joints take over. The bounce takes over. The stretch reflex takes over. And for a second, the exact muscle you are trying to build gets a break. That break is the problem. Muscle growth needs tension that stays on, not tension that appears for half a second and disappears before the body can adapt. So the first rule is simple. Slow down the part you usually rush. On a press, that means the lowering phase. On a row, that means the reach. On a squat or split squat, that means the descent. On a curl, that means the arm opening back up. You do not need to move like a robot. You need to move like the muscle is paying rent for every inch. If the weight drops faster than you can control it, it is too heavy for growth. It might be heavy for your ego, but it is not heavy for the muscle in the way you need. Now look at the chest. A lot of lifters say their chest will not grow, but then you watch them press. The bar comes halfway down. The shoulders roll forward. The elbows lose position. They bounce up and lock out hard, and they feel strong. But the chest never had to fight through the hardest range. The chest grows when it is forced to produce tension while it is being challenged, not when it is hiding behind the shoulder. So here is the fix. Use a controlled dumbbell press, not a circus press, not the heaviest pair you can kick up. A weight you can own. Lower the dumbbells until the upper arm is slightly below the torso, only as deep as your shoulders can tolerate. Pause for one clean second, then press up without letting the shoulders climb. That pause changes everything. It removes the bounce. It exposes the weak point, and it forces the chest to do the bowing instead of borrowing power from momentum. This is where most people panic, because the weight instantly feels lighter on paper but heavier in the muscle. That is a good sign. The second leak is range. Most lifters do not train muscles. They train the easiest part of a movement. They love the part where they are strongest, the top of the press, the top of the squat, the short row where the handle barely leaves the machine. But muscles do not care about your favorite range. They respond to tension through the range you can control, especially the range you keep avoiding. Think of your body like a map. If you only train the middle, the edges stay empty. That is why someone can look good while flexing but flat at rest. They built strength in a narrow zone, but they never built shape through the full line of the muscle. This does not mean you force painful depth. Pain is not a badge. It is feedback. But it does mean you stop cutting reps short just because the bottom is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is where growth usually starts. Unsafe is where you stop. There is a difference. Now look at the back. Most people pull like they are trying to win a tug of war. They yank the handle, they squeeze for half a second, they drop it back, and they think the lats worked. But the lats were never fully loaded. The arms moved, the traps helped, the lower back braced, but the actual lat never got a clean reach and pull. For a better back, the rep begins before the pull. It begins in the reach. Set up on a one-arm cable row. Let the shoulder blade move forward without rounding your lower back. Let the arm reach long. Feel the lat lengthen from under the armpit down toward the hip. Now pull the elbow toward your back pocket, not straight up, not toward the ribs only, toward the hip. That line matters because the lat is not just a pull your arm back muscle. It helps bring the upper arm down and in toward the body. When you match the line of pull to the muscle, the back finally starts looking wider and denser. And here is the key. Do not rush the return. The return is not rest. The return is where the next rep is built. If you throw the handle forward, you lose the lat. If you control the reach, you load it again. That is how you turn a back exercise into a growth signal. The third leak is joint stealing. This is the silent one. You think the target muscle is working, but another joint is stealing the tension. On chest exercises, the front delts steal. On back exercises, the biceps steal. On leg exercises, the lower back steals. On curls, the shoulders steal. On lateral raises, the traps steal. This is why exercise selection alone does not save you. You can pick the right exercise and still feed the wrong muscle. So stop asking, did I do the movement? Start asking, which muscle owned the movement? That question changes your training. Take legs. A lot of lifters want bigger legs, but their squats become a lower back survival test. They load the bar. They drop fast. Their hips shoot up. Their spine works harder than their quads. Then they say squats do not build their legs. No, their squat was never giving the quads the main job. For quad growth, BodyForge would use a heel-elevated squat or a controlled split squat. The point is not to look fancy. The point is to make the knee bend deeply while the torso stays controlled. That puts more demand through the front of the thigh. Lower slow. Keep pressure through the whole foot. Let the knee travel naturally. Pause where the quad is challenged. Then drive up without turning it into a hip hinge. You will know it is working because the set stops feeling like a full-body fight and starts feeling like the quads have nowhere to hide. That is what we want. Now for hamstrings. Most lifters train hamstrings like they are just the back of the leg, but the hamstrings cross the hip and the knee. That means they help bend the knee and extend the hip. If you only train leg curls, you miss one side of the story. If you only hip hinge badly, you miss the other. For a stronger growth signal, use a Romanian deadlift with control. Not a lower back bend, a hip hinge. Push the hips back. Keep the dumbbells close. Let the knees stay softly bent. Stop when your hamstrings say, that is enough, before your spine changes shape. Then stand by driving the hips forward. Do not chase the floor. Chase tension. That one line will save your hamstrings and your back. Do not chase the floor. Chase tension. The fourth leak is failure done wrong. Failure can build muscle, but only if the target muscle is the thing failing. Most people do not fail the muscle. They fail the position. Their shoulders shift, their hips twist, their range disappears, their tempo breaks, and then they grind out 5 ugly reps that train compensation more than growth. That is not intensity, that is damage control. Real intensity is cleaner than people think. It is controlled. It is focused. It gets harder without getting sloppy. For growth, your set should end when the target muscle can no longer perform the rep with the same standard, not when your whole body can no longer cheat the weight up. That is a big difference. So here is the IronReps rule. The first rep and the last rep should look like they belong to the same exercise. The last rep can be slower. It can shake. It can be brutal. But the path should still be honest. If the movement turns into a different exercise, the set is over. Now let's put this into a simple system. For every muscle you train, ask 3 questions. Question 1, where is the tension strongest? Question 2, where do I usually lose control? Question 3, what muscle is stealing the job? That is your growth audit. Chest not growing? Check if your shoulders are stealing. Back not growing? Check if your arms are pulling before your lats are loaded. Quads not growing? Check if your hips are turning every rep into a hinge. Hamstrings not growing? Check if your spine is moving instead of your hips. Arms not growing? Check if your shoulders are swinging the weight. This is not about training lighter forever. It is about earning heavier weight, because heavy weight only builds muscle when you can direct it. Without control, heavy weight is just chaos. With control, even moderate weight becomes violent in the right place. That is what advanced lifters understand. They do not just lift weight, they aim tension. They know what the muscle should feel like before the set starts. They know where the rep should get hard. They know when the body is cheating, and they correct it before the set becomes junk. So here is your challenge for the next 7 days. Do not change your whole program. Do not add 10 new exercises. Do not destroy yourself with extra volume. Take the exercises you already do and fix the tension leak. On every rep, lower with control. Use the range your joints can safely own. Pause where you usually bounce. Pull or press through the target muscle. Stop the set when form breaks, not when your ego is satisfied. Do that for 1 week and your workouts will feel completely different. Not easier, sharper, more demanding, more honest. You will use less noise and create more signal. And that is what muscle growth really needs. A clear signal repeated long enough for the body to adapt. Before you leave, remember this. Your body does not reward the hardest looking reps. It rewards the reps that place the right stress on the right tissue. So stop chasing messy effort. Stop counting every rep like it was equal. Stop letting momentum, joints, and ego steal the growth you train for. Make every inch belong to the muscle, because the muscle that owns the rep is the muscle that grows. If this helped you see training differently, subscribe to IronReps. Every video breaks down the science of muscle strength and movement with BodyForge inside the Bright Gym. And in the next video, we are going to expose the exercise mistake that makes your arms work harder but grow slower. That one is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but it will fix a lot of workouts.